Hello everybody, in this video I want to show you how to install an operating system called OpenMediaVault. Now this is based on Debian Wheezy, making it incredibly stable, and the new version came out at the beginning of October, and I must admit I am a massive fan now. I have actually switched my server over full time from Ubuntu server because I find this just easier to administer. It's got a cracking web interface, and it relies on plugins, and there's plugins for almost everything you can want from a server, from printers to SnapRaid to WakeOnLAN to Plex, SAB, NZBD, and much more. Everything can be configured from a plugin, which I really like. OwnCloud installed in a matter of 2 or 3 minutes rather than taking me 2 or 3 hours like it did on my Ubuntu install, so really impressed. This is the website, OpenMediaVault. Okay, it's it's open software, it is free, and we can see here the latest update was the 18th of October, 1.0.29. I don't think that's the actual ISO. I think the ISO is 1.0.20, and then you have to update, but the updates are dead easy to do through the web interface, which I will show you how to do later on. So downloading, it can be a little bit of a faff to actually get to the ISO, so it's found here, and you're given this really big sort of directory tree, but if you notice here, it's detected which version of my machine I'm running. Now I'm running a 64-bit machine, so I can click there. If you're not running that, then the version you want to use is 1.0.20 or higher. Okay, this is the last version, the 0.5 version, so we want to use this one. Okay, and then you can pick which system you want to install it on. I'm going to use this AMD 64-bit version, so I've downloaded that. Now I'm going to show you how to install it in the next part. So here we are at the installation page. Now I'm having to do this in VirtualBox because obviously I can't capture the screen if I'm installing it on bare metal. I have installed it on bare metal, and I'll be showing you bits of that later on. Okay, so I'm going to select our language and select where we are. I'm in the UK, and British English, and let it work. It's magic. I might actually cut parts of this, especially part of the installation later on. It seems to take a little while to download certain files. But basically what we're doing here is installing Debian with a few tweaks. So it's a very small download file. It's roughly 300-400 megabytes. It doesn't take very long to install. It does pull down a few packages, but not many, and once it's done you barely have to use the Debian command line. It's done all through a web admin interface, which I really like. Okay, so please enter a host name for your system. If you are really bothered about this, you can select your own. I'm just happy with OpenMediaVault for now. Domain name, now I have got mine set to my own domain. I'm not going to reveal that now, but I'm not going to do that with this. I don't think it's vitally important. I haven't run into any issues when I haven't set it, as long as it doesn't conflict with a domain that does exist that you don't own. So if you don't own one, just use local. And then a root password. Now this is important. You can turn off the SSH login from root, which is a really good idea, but you do need a root password. It says that you can go without, but honestly, if you have any issues, you really do need to be able to log in as your main user and then switch to root once you've logged in, and you can't do that if you skip this part. So I'm just going to pick a nice simple one for this. Okay, then it does a bit of magic, and eventually it should ask me about my disks. Now, please ensure you select the correct device for the operating system to prevent data loss. I strongly recommend you disconnect any drives that are not going to be the root drive until you've installed this system. That's what I did on my actual machine. On this, I'm not going to do that because I'm not really bothered if it messes up. I've picked this one, as my root partition. It's really important that you note that the root drive, the one you install it to, you cannot get access to via the web interface. You can't install any programs on it, you can't access any database files, you can't do a Samba share. The only thing you can do, you can SSH into it if you need to change anything, but it's pretty much locked down from the web interface. Okay, so that's going to start copying all of the data over, which actually is pretty quick. I say it's pretty quick, it's now not being as quick as I remember it. There we go, it's starting to pick up. Okay, now you need to pick where you are, set your archive mirror. So this is where the updates are going to come from. So obviously you want to pick somewhere as close to you as possible. I'm going to pick United Kingdom, and while the top option there is the default Debian one, I have found that I get a faster connection if I use this one. Personally, I don't have a proxy, so just hit enter, and it will start pulling down files. Now I've got a really fast internet connection, so it shouldn't take very long on my machine. It might take longer on your machine depending on your internet connection. So I'm going to pause it here because even although it's pretty quick, it's still going to be boring to watch, and I'll come back when it's finished. Okay, well that's actually taken less than 2 minutes to install. It's also installed grub on the correct partition, and so here we have installation complete. It's now time to boot your new system, so let's continue. Okay, so here we are, all logged in, and we have some information there that pops up every time we boot the computer. So it says the LAN address is 192.168.1.108. That's good, I'll use that later on to log in. The default web management interface administrator account has the username admin and the password OpenMediaVault. It's really important that we do change that. It is recommended that you change the password for this account via the web interface or using the OMV first aid CLI command. Right, well we're going to do everything else now from the web interface, so I will pause the video and load up the web. Okay, so here we are. I've logged in to the IP address that I was given. So the username is admin and the password is OpenMediaVault. Okay, just double check that. OpenMediaVault login. And here we have our main web interface. Now this is where we should stay. Hopefully we won't need to do anything other than what's in here. So we have our general settings, we have date and time, which should be set correctly. We have network, okay, notification, power management, certificates, if we want to add any SSL certificates in there, scheduled jobs. That's basically all your cron jobs you do in there, so you can simply add, you can go through when do you want it to happen and what's the command, and you can just have it stored in there. It is possible to get to the normal cron jobs from SSH, but this just gives you a nice sort of interface that you can see, and you can edit them whenever you want, and it's just a bit easier than SSHing in and out all the time. We have an update manager, and as we can see here, there are a lot of updates all ready to install, so we may as well do that now. Oops, wrong button. We'll pick everything and we will upgrade. While that does that, I'll show you what some of these other things are. Plugins, we're going to come to that in a minute. That's really important. There's quite a lot of things you can add. The main OpenMediaVault download includes OwnCloud. At the moment it's OwnCloud 6, which is a shame because OwnCloud 7's been out for quite a while now. It is possible to update to OwnCloud 7, but you do have to do that manually, and you do have to do that from a terminal. It's a bit of a faff, but instructions for how to do it are available on the forum. If anyone wants me to do it, I can do a video on that, but I'm not doing that in this video. Other plugins, there's Sickbeard, there's Couch Potato, there's quite a lot of things like that, but they're not there to start with. You have to know how to enable the extra plugin repository, which I'll show you how to do. Okay, let's close that. So we'll come back to plugins afterwards. We've got physical disks. So here we can see, okay, that's the root hard drive that I installed the system on, and I've got 2 other hard drives in here. This is the VirtualBox one. I decided against using my actual servers. There's lots of things on there that I didn't really want to be putting up on YouTube. I didn't want to put my certificates up and things like that I've got. So I'm going to use this one. We can configure smart management for the hard drives, RAID management. You can actually create your own RAID array. So we have lots of options in here: Stripe, Mirror, Linear, RAID 10, RAID 5, RAID 6. File systems. So that is the root drive, which I can't do anything to. You can see it's only really using a gig, so you don't need anything massive. However, I can. How do I do it? I have forgotten. I can create a file system on this hard drive. I will label it the settings drive. You can label it whatever you want, and I can pick how I want it formatted. I'm going to use ext4. Okay, do you really want to format this device? Yes, I bet it won't take very long. It's blank. Once that's done, I then have a device that I can use to save things into. So that's my settings drive. I can create another one. So what we got here, let's label this one my media drive. Okay, so they've been created, but they're not actually mounted yet. So what I need to do is just click them, click mount, click this one, click mount, and you can see this bar has popped up. That will pop up whenever you do a change that affects the system. You just have to click apply, yes, and that will apply all of the changes. So now I have 2 disks that I can access and the root drive, which I can't in this interface. Okay, access rights management, users. Here we can add a user, so let's add a user. Let's add me. Okay, and my password. You can pick which shell you're going to use. I'm going to use bash, I think. I don't really know much difference between them. I just know that usually bash is selected. I want to be in the sudo group. No, I don't. No, I don't. Take that off. I want to be in the SSH group, sorry, so that I can SSH into my system. And that's about it, I think. Okay, save. Okay, I can pick which group. I can add a new group if I want to. I don't want to. And here I can have all my shared folders. So I can say, right, I want to have a shared folder called photos, and I want that to be on my media folder, and I want that to be in there. Okay, photos. Permissions, read write, users read write. Yeah, that's fine for me. Save. And now I have the shared folder. It's not actually being used at the moment, but it's there if I want to use it. So let's use it. Let's set up a Samba share. So click on Samba. Let's go to shares. Let's add. And if I click on the shared folders here, I should find, oh, there it is. Photos on the media drive. Okay, it's all enabled. Click save. And then just need to remember to turn Samba on. Apply. Yep. And there we go. If I look on my system, I should be able to find that drive through Nautilus or any file manager really, and any Windows machine as well that's on this network. Okay, SSH, something really, really important that you must do. Turn this off. Okay, we've set up a user now that I can SSH into if I want to. I also would recommend changing the ports, so let's change it to 5555. The reason I would change the port is because most bots on the internet are trained to sniff out port 22 for SSH, so if you change it, you're going to help yourself. Never ever ever allow a root login on SSH unless you know what you're doing. The reason is it's quite difficult to gain access to someone's server if you don't know what the username is. If you allow root, then the username's root, they've just got a password that they need to crack. If somehow they manage to get your username and your password, I don't know how they would do that, but if they did, they would still have to crack a root password afterwards, which is highly unlikely. So it's the best thing you can do is to turn off this root login for SSH. Okay, I'm going to enable the SSH. Again, nice simple plugin for that. And click apply. Yep, it's fine. Now, just to show you, I can now SSH into 192.168.1.108. Login as no, the port number was 5555, and I want to log in as that. Yes, I'm sure. Whoops. Yes, I'm sure. And now I've logged in. Now it says I can't find a home directory. I don't really care because I don't want to be able to do anything as Army on this system. Okay, I can SU into the root, and now I have root access, but I cannot get in as root from the outside. Okay, that is really important. I cannot stress that enough. Okay, a couple more things. System information services is a good one. We can see what's actually running and what's not running. So these don't actually do anything, you can't move them, but they do tell you that SSH is on and it's running. Sometimes this goes red, and that means while it should be enabled, there is a problem. You get access to all of your system logs in here. Okay, that's syslog. We can have boot log, we have messages, what's my rsync jobs, which I can again set up via this quick plugin. Add an rsync job, where do I want it to go, what's the folders, blah blah blah. Nice and simple. Okay, the last thing I want to show you is the plugins folder. So here we have Clam Antivirus, which I don't personally use. We have some other LDAPs included for anyone that wants to use that. NetTalk, OwnCloud, there we go. We can turn on the OwnCloud plugin, and that's kind of it. It's kind of a bit lackluster. Let's just install OwnCloud. Now, anyone that's tried to install OwnCloud on their own machine knows that it can be a bit of a faff. This is quite nice because it sets up the plugin, it's done everything, and it can use the certificates that you've set up for OpenMediaVault, which is pretty nice. Okay, once that's installed, it says the page will reload now to let the changes take effect. Okay, and if we watch over here, OwnCloud now pops up. It's not activated yet. Okay, in order to do that, we need to pick a port that we want it to be on. It must have a certificate. Now, I'm not going to go through how to install an SSL certificate today. If people want me to do that, I will show you how it's done. But you do need to have an SSL certificate installed, and then you pick where do you want all the data to go. Now, I would want it normally to go on my settings drive, which I haven't actually enabled properly yet, but that's where I would have it go. So I can click here, add, and I'll call it just OwnCloud settings, and it'll go in settings in that path which doesn't exist yet, so it will make the path for me, and I'll click save. Now I can't enable this until I have a certificate. If I try, it will say no, okay, not allowed, this field is required, so I'm not going to do that for now. But you can see how easy it is to get some of this stuff up and running. Now, the plugins section is powerful. I know it looks like it's not that good at the moment, but it's very powerful if you install the extras plugin. So the extras plugin can be installed by downloading a simple file here and uploading it to the interface. Now I will show you what it has in it. We have Anachron, auto shutdown. That's auto shutdown for other machines that are on your network, so it can be controlled from this server. Backup, BitTorrent sync client, Calibre for ebooks, Couch Potato, Cups printer service, downloader, Greyhole headphones, links, and the list goes on and on. There are a lot of plugins here, and they are pretty easy to use. SabNZBD, Sickbeard, SnapRaid is quite a good one to have as well if you use a RAID array. I personally don't use one, but I need to. VirtualBox, virtual hosts, WebDAV, website, wake on LAN. That's to wake other machines, not to wake your server, because your server has to already be on to use it. Another quite cool feature, it does allow you to hook up a network printer, which I have, which can't print from Apple devices, but there is a plugin in here that will allow that to happen, so it's quite a cool thing to use. Okay, so all we have to do is download this file, which I've already done, and then in the plugin section, go to Upload, Browse, OpenMediaVault plugin, which is this one, open, OK. And we will get a warning in a second. Oh no, we have to install it first. So now we go down and we're looking for the plugin that I have just added. I do wish they would, there we go, OMV-extras.org. I do wish they'd make this a little bit clearer. So enable that one, install. Yes, I really do want to install it so I can get the most out of this machine. And in a second we should end up with lots and lots of extra plugins. Come on. Done. Close. Right, we will now reload the page, and down here beneath this we now have the extras plugins. Now you won't find them appearing just yet, we do have to enable them, so there we go, enable the repository. We can enable any testing ones. I personally don't like doing that because they're not going to be as stable. We can say we would like the Plex one installed because I use that a lot. If you use any download managers, you can click there. We have BitTorrent Sync, we have quite a lot of different things. Click Save, reload, and depending on which repos you've enabled here, it will change how many plugins you get in the plugin section. So let's go back over there, and now we have 2 pages, lots and lots there, and on this page, oh, we have even more. So Plex is one that I use a heck of a lot, so we can install that. We'll get another little plugin down here, and it'll tell us how to set it up so that it can access all of our media files. It's nice and simple. This is the main reason that I have converted to using OpenMediaVault. I've wiped my Ubuntu server installation. I just think that the plugins is a brilliant feature. Makes administrating this this install so much easier for me. I can install and delete things at my whim. It'll update previous BitTorrent Sync things that I've had in. It's been an absolute pain in the neck to update them. Same with Plex. I have to remember to go in, remove Plex, update Plex. It's such a faff. Also, I spent a good 2 or 3 hours installing OwnCloud on my Ubuntu server to get it all working with Apache and everything, and this just took a few clicks. So I think it's really cool. This is the latest version, 1.0.20, I think. So really good stuff. If you've got any questions, ask them in the comments. I'll try and get back to you as quick as I can. Thank you very much for watching.